Hi everyone, Olivia Reiner here at Lambeau Field on this lovely sunty, it's very sunty out today, Ryan, very sunny
It's
out.
a new word
Yes.
that we're inventing
Yes,
just for this live chat.
Aren't you guys are so special to see,
They are
witness
special.
the invention of a lovely sunny day here at Lambeau
State
Field.
the origins of that word.
I'm not going
Okay.
to. Anyway, lovely sunny day here at Lambeau Field. We are just a couple days away from the Packers road trip over to Kansas City. Arrowhead Stadium, one of the loudest in the NFL, but the Chiefs will be down their starting quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
And then some.
And then some. Let's start with Mahomes, though. Andy Reid confirmed that he will not be playing against the Packers on Sunday night. Instead, the Packers will see Matt Moore. How big of a loss is this for the Packers? Or, excuse me, for the Chiefs?
It's huge. I mean, obviously you're going from an MVP to a backup, so it's not quite like going to Aaron Rodgers to Tim Boyle because Matt Moore has played. He's played a lot. Played pretty well last week against the Broncos. But I think, I mean, if you go and you look at the box score of that game, it pretty much tells you how big the drop-off is. Patrick Mahomes, I've said this before, was 10 of 11, 125 passer rating. Matt Moore was 10 of 17, 89.1 passer rating. The drop-off is 35 points in the passer rating. It's a huge drop-off. There's no question about it. And if that was the only thing, the Chiefs might have a chance. But you know what? It's almost a bigger deal that they're also going to be without, count them now, Eric Fisher, Andrew Wiley, Kendall Fuller, Frank Clark, and Chris Jones. If you're wondering who they are because you're a Packers fan, you don't watch much of the AFC West, that's their starting left side of their offensive line, their top corner, and their best two pass rushers. So not just the MVP quarterback, it's everyone else too. So yeah, that's a lot to overcome.
Is it virtually a preseason game now when you look at the Chiefs roster?
No, it's regular season, but they're not only without key players, they're without key players at key positions. Really talented guys at key positions. The Packers, let's just call it what it is. The Packers caught a huge break this week, an absolutely huge break. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, and at the expense of the disappointment of a lot of football fans out there, Rodgers, Mahomes was meant to be a Sunday night football showdown, and it's still going to be on Sunday night, and it just isn't going to be quite the same. I think we're
Rodgers
all
Moore
a little
is
disappointed.
Not usually what gets the excitement of the nation. I mean,
really?
More Rodgers, perhaps, but that's M-O-R-E, Rodgers, not M-O-O-R-E. You like what I did there?
Hilarious. Ryan, you're full of the great jokes.
I didn't invent a new word, though. That is actually... It's
well, are you guys still looking forward to it? I know some of you are headed down to Kansas City, or maybe you're headed up to Kansas City, wherever you're living currently. There are Packers fans all over the place. I know a lot of you guys are headed there. Are you a little disappointed that this game isn't going to be exactly what you signed up for, especially considering how expensive the tickets are? I don't think this is a cheap game to go to.
I want to guess they're not disappointed. Do you know why? Packers win this game, they're going to be 9-1. That's prediction here. If they win this game, they're going to be 9-1. They're going to win in LA against the Chargers. They're going to win at home against Carolina. They'll be 9-1 going into the bye, and a really big game against San Francisco coming out of the bye. So, I mean, if you're the Packers, I've said it before. I don't think it's too early. They're playing for seed. They're playing for seed. They're going to be in the playoffs. You'd want to have home field right here at Lambeau Field. This is a huge break they're catching.
So let's get to some of your questions over on Facebook, Packers News. Thank you guys for joining us if you're over there. If you're on Periscope, YouTube, wherever you are, thank you. We always love to hear from you. John would like an update on Davante Adams. I'm sure a lot of you would like an update on Davante Adams. So today, not only did he stretch during warm-ups with the rest of his team, which is a new addition to his regimen this week in particular, something new that he's introduced, he also did some light route running during individual drills, caught some balls, then he went inside the Don Hutson Center as he has been doing for the majority of practice as far as we're concerned. So it's a good development for Davante Adams, but I wouldn't say it's exactly promising for his availability on Sunday.
I asked Matt LaFleur point blank, if it's close, do you consider the calendar? I mean, this is a legit Super Bowl contender. He's an irreplaceable player. Do you consider the calendar? He said, look, they're not going to play Davante Adams if there's risk of him further aggravating that injury, as they shouldn't. So I don't think he's going to play. He hasn't practiced all week. If it's close, and the best case scenario is that it's close, I think you wait another week. They're not. He's not going to play.
They don't want to re-aggravate it, much like Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Mahomes practice. Mahomes was limited. He probably was doing more than Davante Adams was doing in practice, obviously at a different position, but was doing more and more involved in the actual practice itself. They don't want to risk it for him. He's a huge part of their offense. He makes their offense go. Davante Adams, a huge part of the Packers offense, just not worth it in the long run.
And that's why I think like the news of the day is not that Mahomes is not playing, and it's not that Davante Adams is not playing. It's all the other guys on the Chiefs that aren't playing. That's the eye opener. Like, whoa, 'cause we knew Mahomes and Adams weren't going to play. Those are they're two legit Super Bowl contenders. The Chiefs have everything still out in front of them. They're kind of like the Saints this year, where they had an injury to the quarterback. He's going to miss a game or two, a couple games. Drew Brees has been out for longer, obviously, but you know that the Saints know they're getting Drew Brees back. The Chiefs know they're getting Mahomes back. So everything they want to play for is still out ahead of them. Packers, same thing. You don't risk an irreplaceable player like an Adams or a Mahomes in October. You just don't do it.
Yes, Mark agrees. He says no Adams under these circumstances. He doesn't think it's worth it. So we'll give you a little bit more of an injury update on the guys that we saw at practice today. We do not have the injury report just yet, so if we get it while we're going, we'll let you know if we have any updates for you guys. But also worth mentioning, Corey Linsley was back at practice
I
today.
see what she did there.
I have some game too, Ryan. Look at me.
Look at that.
Look at my pun game. He says he had back injury yesterday. He came back to practice. We don't know how. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you know more. I know you caught up with him today. We do not know how involved he was in practice. We don't know if he was limited or not, but he was certainly there and he was practicing. What did he have to say today?
He's playing, so there's no issue there. It was back spasms, which is a recurrent thing for him, but something that is manageable. It could theoretically pop up during a game. He said it's never popped up during a game before. It's not like playing is going to make the back worse. It just is what it is. He's got to maintain it. It's just back spasms. So he said there's no issue. He's playing. He's all good. So yeah, that's good news for the Packers, no doubt.
The only other player that did not practice today besides Davante Adams was tight end Robert Tonyan. He was limited in practice yesterday and was nowhere to be found today. So kind of curious to see what ends up happening and what his availability is for Sunday's game in Kansas City. The Packers rolled without him last week. They got Jimmy Graham was somewhat healthy, and he's been healthy this week as far as we know. Mercedes Lewis and Evan Bayless last week. They were the three tight ends active for the Packers. And who knows, might be the same this week in Kansas City.
I'd be guessing at this point with Robert Tonyan. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, he practiced and he didn't. I have no idea.
It's interesting. You'd like to see, if you're the Packers, you would like to see a positive trend throughout the week, and for him to...
But we don't know if there was a setback is the thing.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if there was a setback, because there was it has not been a positive trend in practice this week, then it might not be very good news for him.
Right. But again, without knowing if there was a setback or it could have just been rest. I mean, probably not. You're probably... The fact that he didn't practice today is not ideal. Without knowing why that was, it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. John also wants to know if there's any update on Darnell Savage Jr. He's practicing, and he's been practicing at full participation this week, and it's looking pretty good for him on Sunday.
It is. I think he will play, and it's an ankle. It's not a soft tissue thing, so that probably makes him feel better about it.
Chris is using some fun language here. I'm trying to decipher exactly what you're saying here without saying some of the imagery here that you're conjuring up is interesting.
Was it the language I was using before?
Perhaps
we went on about
not quite as explicit, but he wants to know what Matt LaFleur's offensive plan going to be. It sounds like he's asking if the Packers are planning on running the ball a lot. I'll just go with that. Yes, we all know Kansas City does not have, or maybe we don't all know, but from what I know, Kansas City does not have the strongest run defense in the league, and that would be probably an understatement. So is that the mode of attack? Try to run the ball as much as they can? What do you see Matt LaFleur doing in Kansas City this weekend?
Probably, but without Chris Jones and Frank Clark on the field, they not a lot in the pass rush game either, so the Packers' offensive line should be giving Aaron Rodgers plenty of time in this game. So, yeah, I mean, They'll probably run the ball quite a bit, but I don't know. It's just a totally different game than what I think we all thought it would be up until about really a week ago, but even like yesterday, like with everyone else.
Yeah, it's certainly shocking. Edward just says tight end Jace. So Jace Sternberger is still technically on IR. He has been returned to practice, so he's working in with the team. I think he can return after this week if the Packers choose to do so. So that's something to certainly keep an eye on. But that being said, he is a rookie tight end, no less. How much of an impact can he have on this team, on this offense, if he is brought back soon, maybe?
Very little, in all likelihood. He'll have a 2-week window here after this game and then until the Carolina game in 2 weeks that the Packers can return him and have a decision to make. I'm sure that they probably will return him, but rookie tight end, third-round pick, has had very, very little practice time since coming into the NFL. I think anything he gives this team would be unexpected.
Sure, I agree with you there. So Paul is almost at Kansas City. Hopefully you're not Facebooking and driving.
Don't drive,
there.
Paul. Pull over.
I'm sure he's being responsible. So Jim gave his recommendation for barbecue. Ryan, you've been giving me your recommendations for barbecue. What can you share with our friend? He said, so Paul said Jack Stack. Paul says that Jim said Jack Stack. I don't remember exactly what Jim said, but you have your own recommendation, and I believe you shared it yesterday, but perhaps Paul was not with us yesterday.
If you're going to Kansas City and getting barbecue, you don't go to Oklahoma Joe's. You're doing it wrong. That's just all there is to it. If you're not going to Oklahoma Joe's, and take it from a man who likes to eat. I like to eat barbecue. It's Oklahoma Joe's.
All right, so there you have it from Ryan. I have no recommendations for you. I've never been, but I will hopefully have a recommendation for you after the trip.
You want to do both?
No, there's no way. I can't handle that much barbecue in such a short window. No, not happening. Dan wants to know, will Ibraheim Campbell be activated from PUP? That's a good question, Dan. I would also like to know the answer. So Ibraheim Campbell has been practicing with the team now. I believe this is now his second week. So he's been out there.
Yeah, he's in the same boat as Jace Sternberger.
Yes, however, he can be brought back. He doesn't have to wait. They have a 3-week window to make a decision with Campbell. So now we're in he is in the second week. So with Jace Sternberger, they had to wait, I believe, until after a certain point to bring him back. He needed to be practicing for a certain number of weeks, but I think they had to wait until after week 8. With Campbell, they can bring him back whenever. So there's certainly a chance they could bring him back today if they wanted to and have him play on Sunday, but would you think that's realistic?
No. And they have to make up their mind by week 9, I think. Mm-hmm. So but no, he's not out in this week.
So that would again, it's something to keep an eye on next week. See if they end up bringing him back. If they bring him back and they sign him to the active roster, they're going to have to let someone go in his place. So something worth thinking about. Let's see. John's got lots of questions today. Thank you for all your questions today. He asks, do we have a standout player or a player who we think will stand out on Sunday? Anyone off the top of your head you think is going to have a big game?
Well, I think that the Smiths have got to be licking their chops to see that the Chiefs are not going to have the left side of their offensive line. And then on the other side, they're undermanned on the trenches again without Chris Jones and Frank Clark. So Aaron Jones could have a big game. I mean, probably the usual players.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just go with what they got, which is what they've been doing. So
I agree. I think Aaron Jones is due for one. Yeah. He had a good game on the road the last time they were outside of Lambeau Field, and he's due for it, I'd say. I think, especially last game, the run game was not utilized as much, and it didn't have to be. It's no fault of theirs for sure, but it's just because everything was clicking so well through the air. I'm curious to see what they end up doing on the ground this week, knowing that they've been preparing for this Kansas City run defense that isn't as strong.
It'll be interesting to see how often they just overload the right side of their defense, the left side of the Chiefs' offense with Zadarius Smith, at a 3 or a 5, and then Preston Smith as the stand-up outside linebacker. Just put them on the same side and attack those backups. I mean, that'll be interesting to see.
So, Ryan, you have made it very clear that this was not the game you were expecting to see even just a few days ago with all the players that Kansas City will not have in on Sunday night. So, with that all in mind, what are you thinking for the game on Sunday? Do the Packers have a real advantage going into this?
I'll be honest. Ever since the schedule was released in April, I've never once thought that the Packers were going to win this game. Even when Mahomes went down, I thought that, with everyone else, I mean, that's a talented team that the Chiefs have around Mahomes. It's not just Mahomes. I thought, given the extended weekend, Andy Reid would be able to scheme up enough to win that game. Literally an hour ago when I saw everyone, that was the first time that I was like, whoa. I'm taking the Packers 27-23. Even a WSSP in Milwaukee today, I picked the Chiefs to eke one out. I'm picking the Packers 27-23. They caught a huge break. There's no way around it. A huge break, and they're going to seize it to go 7-0. I think they're going to go 7-1. Excuse me. I think they're going to go 9-1. Into the bye. I think they're going to win this week. I think they're going to win in LA, which is going to be a home game for them. It's going to be all green in the Charger Stadium. And I think they're going to win here against a Panthers team that's not all that good. They're going to be 9-1 going in the bye. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, in your defense, this was a totally different game morning, even just hours ago.
If Patrick Mahomes is playing this week and they're healthy and both teams are healthy, I'm picking the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes inside Arrowhead. I'd probably be inclined to pick the Packers if both teams were healthy here at Lambeau Field. I mean, the home field at night is a huge advantage. There's no question. The reality is that the Chiefs are severely undermanned. So, and the Packers not going to have Devontae Adams, but they have everyone else. So, that's just a huge difference, a huge advantage in this game. There's no way around that.
Yeah, I picked the Packers to win. I think it was 31-27. I think it'll still be close. Now I'm not so sure how close it's going to be.
I think it'll be close because of two reasons. One, the night game. Mm-hmm. That's a huge advantage when you're on the road. But two, the extended, they had longer to prepare, and Andy Reid is a heck of a schemer. So I think that for all those reasons, it'll still be close. I don't know. Are you expecting a blowout here?
No, I don't think so. I think I can see it being close. I think they still have a lot of factors going in their favor, mm-hmm. but it's hard to count the Packers out when they've been able to for a while they were kind of eking them out, but I mean last week was a very decisive win.
That's a good point.
And they've been able to pull it out every single week, so why stop betting against them now, especially given the fact that the Chiefs are a little depleted all over there, both the offense and the defense. So
that's a great point. The Packers their arrow's going this way, clearly. I mean, they're getting better and better each week. It's expanding upon itself. They just played their best game, certainly offensively. And defensively, they were 3-6 in the red zone against the Raiders. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. So, yeah, I think I think it will be close, but I think the Packers win this one.
The only thing that really remains to be seen with the Packers is that can they really do it consistently on the road? They haven't had a lot of opportunities to do it. They've done it on some pretty big stages in Chicago on opening night and in Dallas, but can they sustain that dominance on the road? Remains to be seen.
They already have one more road win than they had all last year.
Wild.
Which is amazing. They're 2-0. They were 1-7 on the road last year. So, but you're right. They haven't had a lot of opportunities. They've just had 2 games on the road. So it's a night. That's not nothing. I mean, this is going to be, from the environment standpoint, it's going to be a test that they're walking into. You can imagine. I mean, you know how you'd be if the roles were reversed and this was a night game here and the Packers were completely undermanned and you're coming to the game and the Chiefs had their guys. You would feel like as a fan, you take that upon yourself to try to lend your voice to making a difference. And that's how Chiefs fans are going to be. I mean, it's going to be loud. There's no question about that. It might even be louder without Mahomes and company on the field than it would have been with them, because that's, I think, when fans can sense that they can make a difference. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a challenge going into that environment. It's just, when it comes down to the football, it's a big advantage for the Packers having all their guys.
I think I've said this every game this week, guys, but this one definitely seems like it's going to be an interesting game. So make sure you're following along with Packers News, whether it's on social media, whether you're reading our stuff online. Make sure you're checking us out. We'll have lots of updates over from Kansas City. And if you have any more barbecue recommendations, let me know, because I've got a 2-hour layover in Chicago and I can do a lot of research and do some Yelping and make an informed choice for where I eat my meals when I'm in Kansas City.
Guys, she's literally going to be standing right next to me with me saying go to Oklahoma Joe's and not go to Oklahoma Joe's.
I need to do my research, Ryan. I got to do my research. Got to do it. I just got to do it. I got picky sometimes, got to make a good informed choice. Ryan will not be with us, unfortunately. No. We'll miss you, but everyone else will. So I assume that Jim will be joining us post-game in Kansas City for another live stream. As always, Pete and I will have the pre-game show. So make sure you're coming back here. We love to hear from you. We love interacting with you. And thank you, as always,